Instant match reaction, Southampton 2, Everton 0 at St Mary's. Another defeat for Frank Lampard's Everton side. Another absolutely disgraceful, despicable, disgusting away performance from this Everton team as well. And in a game that we really needed to just stay compact in, we really needed to just be difficult to beat, and we really, really needed to come out with something, whether it be a point, whether it be 3 points, just come out with something to build on for the next couple of games, which obviously are two really, really difficult games against Manchester City and Spurs. We were absolutely abysmal once again. We sat here yesterday and said that, you know, we thought that home form was going to be the real sort of the push for survival for, between now and the remainder of the season. I said after the Newcastle defeat, I don't think we'll pick up another point away from home between now and the end of the season. And after today, I just reinforced my own point. I don't think Everton will pick up a single point away from home before now and the end of the season. But what we had to do was, if we were going to be so forward thinking and so attacking and so creative and good at Goodison Park, and as we have been in the last couple of games, then what we needed to do was ensure that when we go away from home and we play sides like Southampton, who were a decent side, mid-table team, nothing really to fight for, we were compact, we were difficult to beat. If we weren't going to go out there and play lovely football and win 2 or 3-0 as we maybe have done over the last couple of weeks at Goodison Park, just go out there and make it difficult, just go out there and make it tough for them, go out there and come away with a point, and then be able to build on that in our home games coming up. And that was ultimately what we need to do if we've got any real chance of survival. But what we've done today is, again, go away from home to another side that are a decent Premier League side. Look, Southampton were very, very good today, and barring a 10-minute spell in the first half, which ended quite promptly when Alan picked up a yellow card, they were absolutely all over us. I think they had something like 10 shots on target, 11 shots on target today. Everton didn't have a single shot on target. It was, again, almost a sort of carbon copy of the performance against Newcastle, other than that, they scored one less than Newcastle did, and we didn't manage to get a goal whatsoever. And it's performances like that that you look at and you analyse and you watch, and I sort of looked at it and thought, will we be safe this season? I personally think we're in serious trouble. I mean, if you look at some of the other results that have took place today, Watford have won away from home, which is a massive win for them. Burnley have beaten Brighton comfortably away from home. Norwich, okay, lost to Liverpool, but they were one up for 50-60 minutes. Not 50-60 minutes, they were one up after 50-60 minutes. And, we're showing that fight and we're showing that determination. And Newcastle have took a point off West Ham earlier on this afternoon and are in really good form. I think they're unbeaten in 6. And then you've got Everton, who are one week, absolutely fantastic, and the next week absolutely fucking abysmal. Polar opposites. These group of players one week look like they love playing together and that they're best mates and that they understand each other, and the next week they look like 11 gang of dickheads who have just turned up for a game of for a kickabout because they're bored on a Saturday afternoon. I mean, let me just read this out to you. I've just seen this tweet, which is incredibly worrying, from Paul Brown. He said, Everton are just 4 points above the relegation zone with Manchester City to play next. On a day that Watford and Burnley both won away, Frank Lampard's team managed no shots on target, no big chances created, and no successful crosses with no goals. Jordan Pickford was forced into making 9 saves. And Jordan Pickford was actually Everton's best player by a long stretch today. If it wasn't for Jordan Pickford, it could have comfortably been 3-4-5-0 to Southampton, which would have been an absolute disaster. But let's be honest, would not have been a surprise. It really wouldn't. As I said, I'm hearing people say, we'll be all right. We've got loads of games to play. As I said, I don't think we'll pick up a single point between now and the end of the season away from home. I seriously don't. I've watched the last 2 away performances under a new manager, looked at how good we were at Goodison Park and thought, well, can we just stay compact? Can we just be solid? Can we just go out there away and, get something out of the games? And we've gone out there in both of the games and been absolutely embarrassed. So forget away games. Forget your away games, because they're a nonsense. And forget the FA Cup as well. Forget the FA Cup. I'm not even asked about the FA Cup at the minute. I'm really not. We've got Manchester City at home next week, which, again, if we're looking at our home games as the sort of, the reason for staying in the Premier League, then Manchester City next is a massive game. It will be massively difficult, of course, but that's a massive game. You've then got Wolves at home after Tottenham away, but let's forget the away games for the minute. Wolves at home, which will be difficult. Wolves are a good side. Newcastle at home, which could be the game that decides whether or not we stay in the Premier League or not. We need to win that one. We've then got Manchester United at home a couple of weeks later, which again will be a difficult game. Palace at home a couple of weeks later, which will be a difficult game. Chelsea at home a couple of weeks later, which will be a difficult game. And Brentford at home. We've also got Leicester and I think Burnley sandwiched in between. Not Burnley, sorry, Leicester sandwiched in between there, when that game gets rescheduled. So when you even look at the home games that we've got between now and the end of the season, we've still got to play Chelsea, Man United, Manchester City, Leicester, Wolves. Okay, Leicester haven't been in great form this season, but Wolves, Chelsea, Manchester United and Manchester City will cause us massive problems at Goodison Park. Massive problems at Goodison Park. And I honestly look at those games and think if we can't get... we effectively can't really afford to lose any of them. We seriously can't, because our away form is that bad. That bad. And I said it after Newcastle, our away form has always been shit. Forget Ancelotti's season last season. It was a fucking nonsense. It was a one-off. There was no crowd no crowd, no fans in the stadiums. It was an utter nonsense. We've been shit away from home ever since I was born. I'm 23 years old. I've never seen Everton decent away from home other than last season. And as I said, that was a fucking false storm because of the fact that there was no fans in stadiums. And that season we were fucking awful at home anyway. So it counted itself anyway. But again, today was just a shambles, wasn't it? Look, Southampton are a decent side. They're a really, really good side. I don't think they've lost many games at home this season. Not certainly many games since the turn of the year. And, over the last couple of weeks or so, they've caused big problems to some of the best teams in the Premier League. They've caused the likes of Manchester City to drop points and peg them back. So we always knew it was going to be difficult today. We always knew it was going to be a tough task. We knew it was never going to be an easy sort of go out there, stroll and get 3 points. But I just think the attitude of some of these players, I just think the lack of leadership within the squad, the lack of ideas. The midfield was absolutely abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. Donny van de Beek was poor today. Poor. And I'm not going to sit here and have a massive go at him because he was brilliant last week and he's only been here for a matter of days. But he was poor today. But I tell you who will sit here and have a go at Andre Gomez. Fucking useless. Why does he play for Everton? Why? He can't defend and he can't attack. What the fuck does he bring in the midfield? What the fuck does he bring in the midfield? The goal wasn't particularly Gomez's fault because he was put under pressure, but his overall play, he isn't very good. He isn't very good. Alan was poor today. The back line, Mason Holgate, Michael Keane were poor. John Joe Kenny positionally was dreadful. On the ball he was okay, but positionally for the first goal, he's running towards the ball instead of staying with his man, who ironically was Adam Armstrong, who scored the goal. Seamus Coleman was poor. The forward line, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, all over the place. Absolutely all over the place. Was awful today. Richarlison was working hard, but couldn't quite get on the ball. Anthony Gordon was poor in the second half. And as I said, Everton were lucky to come out of that game 2-0, really. Southampton had the shot cleared off the line before their first goal, which could have went in. And Jordan Pickford made 9 massive saves. Jordan Pickford was fantastic today. Absolutely fantastic today. And we've lost the game 2-0 and performed like that. And that just shows how bad the rest of the team were, how bad the defence was, how bad the attack was, how bad the midfield was. It was just awful. And you know what? We actually started the game relatively well, I thought. For the opening 5-10 minutes, we were moving the ball forward. We had a couple of, let's say, half chances. One where the ball gets fizzed into the box and Richarlison gets his foot on it and he just can't quite get it under control. It was one where Anthony Gordon drove into the box and manoeuvred his way into a good area and got pushed over. Was it a penalty? Wasn't it a penalty? I think if it's the other way round, Bobby Madley, Andy Madley gives it, because he's an absolutely disgraceful referee, by the way. He's an embarrassment to referee and he should never referee a game of football again. We had a handball shout, which was the most blatant handball you will ever see in world football from Romeo, not given. And then all of a sudden on the 10-minute mark, around that mark, Alan gives a silly foul away in the middle of the park and gets himself a stupid yellow card. Now, there's every argument to have that it shouldn't have been a yellow card on the basis that it was early on in the game and the basis that I don't think Southampton got 1 yellow card all game and there was a number of fouls that could have comfortably saw a card. But again, it was a yellow card challenge by Alan. It was a silly challenge. He didn't need to make it. It was in the middle of the park. And the moment he got that yellow card, he sort of just nullified his own game from that point on, because a lot of Alan's game is getting stuck in, getting involved, throwing a foot in, and sometimes he'll give away fouls doing that. Sometimes he'll win the ball back doing that, and we'll be able to break from those interceptions. But the minute he got that yellow card in the first 10 minutes, and he went in the referee's book, and then a couple of minutes later he gave away a silly foul on the edge of the box, which forced Jordan Pickford into making a fantastic save from James Ward-Prowse. He effectively killed his game off from that point, Alan. And in doing that, he effectively killed the game off for Everton. And I'm not blaming Alan, because Alan went off at half-time and we were still absolutely fucking abysmal from that point on. And to be fair, Alan was really, really poor today. His passing was awful. His movement was dreadful. But that yellow card really, 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 it just threw everything in the air for Everton. It stopped our momentum. It stopped our flow. It stopped any sort of control that we had on the game in the midfield, because Alan was simply shit scared to throw a tackle in from that point. He was shit scared to get involved. He was shit scared to put himself about. And ultimately, it really, really did mess with our, the style of which we wanted to play. And then, as I said, from that point on, Southampton started to grow into the game. They started to get their foot on the ball a little bit more. They started to move the ball a little bit forward. As I said, the midfield was absolutely everywhere. It was abysmal. The defence started to make silly mistakes. They started to panic. We're like a book, Everton. Do you know what I feel like watching Everton now? I feel like I'm just reading the same book over and over and over again. And do you know, if we weren't playing Manchester City next week, if we were playing somebody, a decent Premier League average side, I'd say we'll turn up next week and we'll batter them at home, and then we'll turn up the week after away from home and we'll be absolutely dreadful again, because we're the same fucking book week in, week out. You know what you're going to get with Everton. We're going to go to Goodison, we'll perform, we'll put a decent performance in, we'll all sit here and go, do you know what, let's build on this now, let's try and get some momentum, and then we'll go away the week after and we'll be an absolute disgrace, because this is just what Everton do. We simply are the most easily read team in the predictable team in the Premier League. We simply are, and again, from that point on, as soon as the defence started to panic, as soon as Mason Holgate and Michael Keane started to panic, you just knew there was nothing in for us, and it was always inevitable that Southampton were going to score, really. And as I said, they're building their confidence up, they're building their momentum up a little bit. At this point, Dominic Calvert-Lewin may as well have been sat next to me. Richarlison was working, Anthony Gordon was working, but not really getting anything out of it. And Southampton have a couple of good opportunities before half-time. They have one cleared off the line. They have a couple that forced Jordan Pickford into making a couple of really big saves. And then we get to half-time and it's 0-0, and you're thinking, right, okay, not a great half, not a great performance, difficult game, but not only are we very much still in it, but we're it's goalless. If we can take a point out of this game in these circumstances, then great. Now, the manager brings Alan off. Now, I'm toying in my head with whether or not Alan should have come off, really, because his yellow card was obviously a big point of the reason of taking him off, and the fact that he was still making silly challenges on that yellow card. B, he wasn't very good anyway. His passing was absolutely fucking abysmal. His movement was absolutely abysmal. He was everywhere, and not in a good way, in the midfield. But then you look at the other side of it and you think, Andre Gomez coming on to replace him and to play in that role is an absolute sinking ship. It really, really is. Andre Gomez is a good technical footballer. I've said it for years and years and years. I've said it when he's played well. I've said it when he's played poorly. He is a good technical footballer. As an effective Premier League midfielder, he is fucking awful. He can't defend, he can't attack, he isn't quick, his movement isn't particularly good. On the ball, when he's got 33 miles of space to pick it up and to move it and to play a pass, good player. When you're moving forward and the opposition team are under a bit of pressure and they're sort of flapping a little bit, good player. When you're trying to control a game and when you're trying to keep a calm head, and when you're trying to pass the ball around and soak up the pressure of an opposition team that are searching for a goal, Andre Gomez is absolutely not the right man. Now, I understand Frank Lampard had no other option, and he wanted to take Alan off because he was on a yellow card, and but I genuinely think I'd have rather have took the risk of having Alan on and getting a red card than having Gomez in there, because he just isn't Alan, and he can't do that role. He simply can't do that role, and he come on, and that partnership of Alan and Van der Beek just wasn't. Gomez and Van der Beek just was non-existent, wasn't it? Now, Alan and Van der Beek weren't particularly great in the first half, don't get me wrong, but when Gomez come on, it was it was awful. It was absolutely awful. And then, as I said, we started to lose the ball more often in midfield. The control was gone. We were wasting it. The defence at this point were just absolutely flapping it at every given point. And this is why I'm sitting here now genuinely concerned and genuinely worried. Yerry Mina isn't going to be fit for some time. Ben Godfrey isn't going to be fit for some time. We're reliant on two centre-backs that one week can be brilliant and the next week can be absolutely disgraceful. We're relying on midfield without Abdoulaye Doucouré in there. Now, I know Abdoulaye Doucouré is slowly getting back to fitness, but what are we going to do? Throw him straight back in at the deep end and risk him picking up another injury and going off injured again for another however many weeks? I see people saying we need to play a free midfield. We need to play a free midfield. We absolutely do need to play a free midfield. We haven't got three decent midfielders to play. Whether you play Andre Gomez in a 63-man midfield or a 2-man midfield, he's still shite under pressure. He still isn't very quick and he still can't defend. So some people would say, well, why don't we play Gomez, Van der Beek and Allen as a 3-man midfield? Maybe that would have worked better, but there was still no energy in that midfield. Allen was still dreadful in terms of his passing, still would have got a silly yellow card in the first half. Gomez still would have made stupid mistakes as he does. So... yeah, as I said, pressure piles on. At this point, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is basically doing nothing. His hold-up play wasn't particularly great today. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and have a massive go at him. Because I think a lot of people have already done that over the last half an hour or so. But I also think, again, you know, we've just read the stats here. No successful crosses into the box, no big chances created. You know, he actually had the ball in the back of the net, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and it was ruled offside. But no big chances created and no successful crosses into the box. I mean, we know Dom isn't a striker who's going to create his own chances. We know Dom isn't a striker who's going to pick the ball up, take 14 players on and put it in the bottom corner. He's not that type of player. We know he needs chances. We know he needs good balls into the box. We know he needs service, which makes even more of a baffling decision for the ex-manager who... again, has completely fucking ruined us to have sold two of our most creative players and two of our best crosses. Again, it just makes that decision even more baffling, really. But Dom, again, was out the game. Anthony Gordon at this point wasn't in the game at all. Richarlison at this point wasn't in the game at all. And the inevitable Southampton goal comes. The pressure was piling. They were getting forward. They were moving the ball well. They were putting us under pressure. They were putting us on our toes. As I said, Jordan Pickford was called into action on a number of times. He may as well have said to the defence, you all go home because you're not doing fucking nothing anyway. And Andre Gomez gets the ball fed into him from Michael Keane. And I actually don't think this is Gomez's fault. If I'm being honest with you, I think it's a dreadful ball by Michael Keane. Michael Keane should understand, and God, this lad who I'm passing the ball to isn't particularly good, isn't particularly quick, is going to be under massive pressure, so I won't pass it to him, I'll just lump it forward, but he doesn't, he passes it to him, Gomez loses it, Southampton come on the break, John Joe Kenny runs towards the ball for some reason, I don't quite know why he runs towards the ball, but he runs towards the ball, and leaves Adam Armstrong completely unmarked. Adam Armstrong picks it up, curls it in past Keane, Pickford, you know, again, was blindsided and couldn't really do much about it. And it's 1-0. And as I said, from that point on, it was game over. And this is the really, really worrying thing. And this is why the title of this live stream is We Are Seriously in Trouble. Because we concede the goal, especially away from home. Home is a little bit different. But then again, we haven't conceded under Frank Lampard at Goodison first. Obviously, we conceded against Brentford, but it was when we were, 2-0 up. This is the really worrying thing. Away from home, as soon as we concede, whether it be like the Newcastle game on the 45th minute or whatever it was, like this game on the 56th minute, whatever it was, you know, as soon as we concede, that's it. Game over, done and dusted, we aren't getting back into it. No shots on target, no successful crosses, no goals, no big chances created. To Southampton's 10. Southampton, who, by the way, are a mid-table side with nothing much to play for. Good team. Really, really good team. And a good team at home as shown today and fully deserving to their win. But this isn't Manchester City. This isn't Chelsea. Southampton give chances to teams. They concede goals. I knew as soon as we went 1-0 down, that was it. We weren't getting back into this game. And that is exactly what it was. You know, again, the manager made a couple of changes. He brought Townsend on. He brought Dele Alli on as well. Pardon me. But nothing changed. None of it changed. We still looked completely inept. Dominic Calvert-Lewin at this point was having an absolute shocker. He just, again, he didn't really seem interested, but probably because he had no service. Richarlison was trying to make things happen, but unfortunately couldn't make anything happen. Obviously Anthony Gordon went off for Dele Alli. But we didn't create anything, did we? We didn't create anything, as I said. The corners today were dreadful. Every time we got, even in the opposition half, we lost the ball, or we played a silly pass, or it didn't work. And then lo and behold, Southampton make a change, bring Shane Long on, go up the other end, and within 32.3 seconds of him coming on, he gets an opportunity, he puts the ball in the back of the net, once again across into the box. By the way, we are the worst team in world football at defending balls into the box. I don't care. We are the worst team in world football at defending balls into the box. It's actually painfully embarrassing to watch Everton defending. It's becoming cringeworthy. It's getting to the point now where instead of being angry or upset, you sort of just put your head in your hands and think, fucking hell, how can you be that bad? How can you be that bad at defending balls into the box? And do you know, considering how bad we are at defending balls into the box, we fucking love giving teams chances to put balls into the box, don't we? How many times do we stand off James Ward-Prowse or anybody else and go ahead, lad, throw that ball in the box there, whip that one in, considering how awful we are at defending them? Why we don't fucking stop the crosses is beyond me. Absolutely beyond me. Yeah, it goes 2-0, and as I said, from that point on, it's absolutely game over. I mean, let's be honest, it was game over at 1-0. I mean, let's be honest, it was game over when Alan went off, but... sorry, not when Alan went off, when Alan picked up that yellow card in the first half. But, you know, as I said, another really, really, really bad performance. So Frank Lampard had a couple of big decisions to make today with the team news. Did he go with the same team that played so well last week against Leeds? He did. He kept John Joe Kenny at left back. He kept Donny van der Beek in the midfield. He kept Alex Iwobi in the number 10. And the big overlooming, overriding thing or question was going to be, well, can these players put in that same performance? Can these players replicate that performance against Leeds away from home, you know, under different circumstances with a different crowd? I said it yesterday in the preview. How likely is it going to be that these players can replicate that Leeds performance without 40,000 Evertonians behind them? Because if there's one thing that has become evidently clear over the last couple of weeks, and I said it after the Leeds results, it's that these players can't play without a full capacity Goodison Park. They're shite. They're absolutely shite. Unless every single one of us are behind them, they're fucking abysmal. They're the most unreliable group of players you will ever see in your life. They can't put a performance in away from home, and they can't put a performance in unless the entirety of Goodison Park is behind them, backing them, you know, and creating an atmosphere and making a noise. Other than that, they can't perform. How they're professional footballers being paid as much as they are when they can only perform when there's a crowd behind them is an absolute nonsense. Professional footballers should be able to go out there in front of 100,000 fans and perform, or in front of fucking 22 people in the local Asda and perform. Doesn't matter who's there, they should be able to perform because that is their fucking job. But these players can't. They simply can't perform unless it's a full capacity Goodison Park. It's as simple as that. And not even a full capacity Goodison Park. A full capacity Goodison Park that's making noise and getting behind them and screaming and shouting. Other than that, they're abysmal. They're unreliable. They make mistakes. They flap at every ball. They can't defend. They can't attack. The midfield are a joke. They're shite. They're absolutely shite. And we saw that again today, as we saw against Newcastle last week. Yeah, I just, again, as I said, for me, we are in serious trouble. You know, like I said, John Joe Kenny, I thought positionally was awful, absolutely abysmal. And look, he's not a left back. So when he's getting dragged out of position, when he's getting, not specifically dragged towards the ball, because that's amateurish, but when he's getting dragged out of position and stuff, he isn't a left back. Alex Iwobi didn't particularly do much. Didn't really do much, did he? Worked a little bit, but there was absolutely nothing there. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was poor. Anthony Gordon in the second half was poor. Van der Beek and Alan were poor. Gomez was poor. The whole defence were poor. The only good performer in an Everton shirt was Jordan Pickford. And if it wasn't for Jordan Pickford, then we simply would have come out of that game with a seriously higher scoreline than what it was. And that is a worry, isn't it? That is a real worry. As I said, again, you might say, oh, you're being negative or you're being pessimistic or this, that and the other. I don't think we'll pick up another point between now and the end of the season. You look at our away games between now and the end of the season, who we've got coming up. Everton are taking me to their official website. I don't want to go to your official website. In fact, I never want to go to your official website ever again. Shambles of a club. Let's have a look at the away game. So we've got Tottenham away next week. Sorry, in a couple of weeks after the FA Cup game. We've got Watford away, who've just won today. They'll be, again, as I said, those two games, Newcastle at home and Watford away, if we lose them, I think that may be the decision done, really. I do. West Ham away, extremely difficult game. The derby, Liverpool away, which is a write-off, let's be honest. Leicester away, which, okay, Leicester haven't been great this season, but still a really difficult game. And then Arsenal away, last game of the season. We notoriously don't do well against Arsenal away. As I said before, forget last season. It was a nonsense. We don't do well against Arsenal away. So, I just don't know. As I said, our chances of surviving this season and staying in the Premier League are solely reliant on our home form and our home performances and picking up points at Goodison, because I just don't see us picking up many of any points away from home between now and the end of the season. And today was another fine example of what a dreadful, spineless, gutless disgrace of a performance these players can put in when there's not 40,000 Evertonians behind them. And as I said, professional Premier League footballers who can't perform unless there's a full capacity stand behind them is a nonsense. An absolute nonsense. Should be able to perform anywhere. Under pressure, no pressure, fans behind you, fans against you. I understand that one-off games, the pressure will get to you, or one-off games you won't be able to perform, but I've never known an Everton team, I've never known a football club so bad away from home in all my life. In all my life. Yeah, there you go. We'll wait and see what happens, won't we? We'll wait and see what happens, but it was another disgrace today. And yeah, City next at Goodison, which is a must-win, by the way. A must-win. We probably won't win it, but what we can't do is lose that game. We simply can't lose that game, and how difficult is it going to be going into against the best team in the league and saying we can't lose that game? Yeah, there you go. Our defence is like inviting a couple of peckish lions into your house. People bad-mouthing Pickford. Why are people bad-mouthing Pickford? He was fucking the best player on the pitch in an Everton shirt today. He was unbelievable. Tottenham 1-0 already, worrying games ahead. They're playing City, aren't they? Typically, City will. City. Why are people? Have I missed something here? Why am I seeing people having a go at Jordan Pickford? Have I seriously missed something here? Listen, I don't know. Look, we'll be back with the player ratings very shortly, so don't forget to join us for those. Alex says we can't lose to Watford when the time comes. If we do, it's over, in my opinion. But later, the two games: Newcastle at home, Watford away. Biggest week in this football club's most recent history. It seriously is. But yeah, we'll be back with the player ratings very shortly, so don't forget to join us for them. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. As I said, another absolutely disgraceful performance, another absolutely gutless, spineless, disgraceful result. As I said, no leaders in this team, by the way. No leaders whatsoever. Just shite. Absolutely shite, but there you go. We'll be back with the play ratings very shortly. If you've enjoyed this one, leave it a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Massive thank you all for watching, and we'll see you soon on The Mighty Blues.